It is often necessary to make a layout on pieces to prepare them for machining. A layout is the marking off of a piece to guide the machine operator in his work. This casting, a bracket for a circular saw, required a preliminary layout as a guide for the machinist. A marking compound is spread evenly and thinly over the surfaces to be laid out. Prussian blue and other similar compounds are used to make the layout lines easy to see. A surface plate will be used. Before placing the casting on the surface plate, the bottom is wiped carefully with the hand to make certain there are no rough edges or dirt to scratch the surface of the plate. The correct tools are selected and placed conveniently at hand. The sides of the casting are placed flush with the edges of the surface plate and clamped lightly. The casting is squared with the surface plate and then clamped tightly in this position. The blueprint always guides the layout work. The center of the bearing is the reference point from which all other measurements will be taken. The center of this reference point bearing is 6 1/8 inches above the base of the casting. Using a combination square, the scriber of a surface gauge is set for 6 1/8 inches. And tightened in this position. A horizontal line is scratched on the bearing boss. The hermaphrodite calipers are used to locate the center of the boss on the horizontal line. The center on this reference surface must be located. This center becomes the reference point that will determine the locations of the other holes on the casting. A vertical line is drawn through the established center. This is the reference center line of the casting. To locate the center lines for the holes on each side of the flange, he measures 5 3/8 inches from this center line to both sides of the flange. This gives him the measurements for the vertical lines that must be scribed on either flange. The combination square is placed in the exact center, and with the aid of a rule, the location of the vertical line on the flange is established and scribed. The same procedure repeated for the other side. The blueprint shows that the top bolt holes are to be drilled 4 inches above the base. The scriber is set. And this line scribed on both flanges. The The intersection of this horizontal line with the vertical line marks the center of the bolt hole. The centers of the two lower bolt holes are located. And the lines scribed. Notice the smooth sliding of the surface gauge on the surface plate. The layout necessary for the location of the bearing hole and the flange bolt holes has been completed. The casting is removed from the surface plate. The centers of the holes are prick punched. Notice the care that the worker takes to get each mark at the intersection of the layout lines. The flange bolt holes are to be 1/4 inch in diameter. Dividers are set for 1/2 of this and the bolt holes scribed. In like fashion, the diameter of the bearing holes is given by the blueprint. A good workman constantly refers to his drawing and does not trust to memory. Being careful to locate the dividers in the center, this hole is scribed in a like manner. The intersections of this circle and the established center lines are marked with a punch to guide the drill press operator. The layout of this casting is completed. The bearing hole and the two bolt holes on either flange have been accurately located and marked. Let's review the steps in this layout job. The center of this bearing hole was the reference point. All other holes were located in relationship to it. First, a vertical center line was established. Then, measuring out from this center line, the vertical center line of the bolt holes was established for the one flange, then for the other. The horizontal lines locating the upper bolt holes were scribed. Then the horizontal lines locating the lower bolt holes were scribed. Then the casting was laid out on the table, the centers prick punched, the holes scribed and punched to guide the drill press operator. Here is a blueprint of another type of work, a pipe flange. The layout problem is the accurate location and marking of the 6 bolt holes required. The casting has been coated with whiting, centered, and mounted against an angle plate. The scriber of a surface gauge is set at the center mark. Notice the care taken to get this correct setting. A line is now scribed on opposite sides of the flange. From this line, the required diameter of the bolt circle can be located. The casting is now removed from the angle plate and surface plate and placed on the bench. Notice how carefully the operator handles his tools. The diameter of the bolt hole circle is 8 inches. Dividers set for 1/2 of 8 inches are used to scribe the bolt hole circle. The points of the dividers must be sharp and carefully located for accurate work. The intersections of the circle and the horizontal center lines are punched. Using the same setting of the dividers, arcs are scribed, thus locating the additional 4 holes on the bolt circle. This method can be used only when laying out 6 holes. The intersections of these arcs with the bolt hole circle are now punched. The blueprint gives the diameter of the bolt holes. With the dividers set for half that diameter and using the punch marks as centers, the 6 bolt holes are scribed. Notice the method used to make certain the divider point is located in the punched center. The workman now punches the necessary guide marks for each bolt hole. 4 marks are punched on each of the scribed circles. This enables the drill press operator to locate each hole. An accurate layout is the first step in the performance of accurate machine shop work. The layout is completed. Regardless of the shape or size of a casting, the layout man must always work from a reference point to produce an accurate layout needed to guide the work of the machinist.